In recent years, the global supply chain has undergone a profound transformation. China, once an unassailable titan in US imports, has seen its grip loosen. From a dominant 21.4% share in 2017, it dwindled to a mere 13.3% by mid-year, the lowest since 2003. This decline includes everyday commodities to advanced semiconductors, highlighting China's receding role in global trade and hinting at a potential decoupling from the global supply chain. In this video, we will look at 3 countries where manufacturing is headed when companies exit China: Mexico, Vietnam, and India. Reshaping of global supply chain and the rise of Mexico. Recently, Mexico has risen as a robust alternative to China for manufacturing. With 80% of its exports destined for the US, America's gaze has shifted southward. The tug-of-war between Chinese and Mexican exports to the US is palpable, especially in pivotal sectors like transportation equipment, electrical machinery, and electronics. Here, Mexico boasts impressive shares of 31%, 25%, and 17% respectively. Mexico's ascendancy can be attributed to several strategic advantages. In the area of tax incentives and zero tariffs, the US offers a $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles (EVs) manufactured in Mexico. This incentive has lured giants like Ford and General Motors to establish production hubs in Mexico. Between January and May, automotive imports from Mexico to the US surged to 51 billion, marking a 70% year-on-year increase. In 2021 alone, multinationals in Mexico rolled out 3.15 million cars, securing the 7th spot globally, with a staggering 90% earmarked for the US. Mexico also has a logistical edge. Shipping a 40-foot container from Mexico to the US is swift and economical, taking just a week and costing a mere $1,800. In contrast, the journey from China demands 5 weeks and extracts a hefty $4,300. In addition, the USMCA PAC in 2020 and the Supply Chain Executive Order in 2021 have further solidified the bond between the US and Latin American nations. A noteworthy point is that a striking 40% of US imports from Mexico are made at American plants, dwarfing the 4% from China. This stark contrast has spurred a migration of US manufacturers to Mexico, with industry giants like LG and Magna leading the charge, investing $100 million in a facility set to produce key EV components by 2023. Even Chinese automotive giants such as Ningde Times, Jiangnan Mold and Plastic Technology, and Ningbo Junshen Electronics are also flocking to Mexico. From everyday commodities like TVs and refrigerators to sophisticated tech products, industries are pivoting from China to Mexico, encompassing not just manufacturing but the entire supply chain. The proposed Western Hemisphere Nearshoring Act by the US House of Representatives, offering enticing low-interest loans to companies relocating from China to Latin America, could further accelerate this trend. However, the US embrace of this shift is tinged with caution. Concerns loom over Chinese firms in Mexico potentially acting as proxies for the Chinese government or diversing strategies to sidestep US tariffs on Chinese imports. The specter of technology transfers and intellectual property breaches further intensifies these apprehensions. While the US employs tariffs on Chinese goods to subsidize the relocation of production chains, whether Chinese firms in Mexico operating independently of their parent entities qualify for such subsidies remain ambiguous. If perceived as extensions of the Chinese government, they might face exclusion. At its core, the US stance is anchored in its national interests and security imperatives. While receptive to Chinese investments in Mexico, it will undoubtedly wield rigorous oversight to ensure these ventures neither jeopardize its economic landscape nor pose security threats. This evolving dynamic, though a boon for Mexico, might compel the US to diverse strategies to prevent potential vulnerabilities. A myriad of factors are at work in the monumental transition, yet one fact remains clear. with foreign investments in Mexico skyrocketing by 48% in the first quarter of this year, as reported by Mexico's Ministry of Economy. The US emerges as the dominant investor. Vietnam, the rising star in the manufacturing realm. While Mexico is the beacon of the US nearshoring strategy, Southeast Asia and India emerge as the crown jewels of its offshoring endeavors. Among these, Vietnam has risen meteorically, especially in the realms of textiles and electronics, challenging China's previously superior position. The 2008 financial crisis unveiled Vietnam's latent potential, boasting strategic ports and an unbeatable combination of affordable labor and land. Recognizing this goldmine, Samsung's visionary leaders, Lee Kun-hee and his successor, Lee Jae-yong, made a bold move, injecting $617 million to establish Samsung's premier mobile manufacturing hub in Vietnam. This was no mere investment. It was a declaration. Over the next decade, Samsung's financial commitment in Vietnam soared to a staggering $18 billion, forging alliances with over 200 local suppliers, harnessing the skills of 110,000 Vietnamese talents, and crafting a formidable electronic supply chain. The shifts in the global economic terrain are driven by theories like the Lewis turning point, conceived by economist Arthur Lewis in 1954. This theory demystifies an economy's metamorphosis from a labor-abundant agriculture one to a labor-scarce urbanized one. As nations approach this pivotal juncture, the once plentiful labor reservoir starts depleting, ushering in an era of rising wages and potential production cost surges. Around 2012, as China teetered on its Lewis turning point, visionary corporations cast their sights on Southeast Asia's untapped potential. Leading the charge was Shenzhou International, a sportswear behemoth which planted its flag with a fabric factory in Vietnam by 2013. Not to be outdone, Shanghai's Rainbow Textiles made its foray into Vietnam's Haihe industrial zone a year later. Chinese industry titans including the Huali Group and Bai Long Oriental soon followed suit, amplifying Vietnam's prominence in the textile arena. Leveraging its unique advantages, Vietnam's exports to the US surged impressively by 25%, 24%, and 14% year-on-year from 2020 to 2022, far exceeding China's growth rates of 8%, 19%, and 1.2% in the same timeframe. India, the next manufacturing powerhouse. In the grand theater of global manufacturing, India is emerging as the next colossus, poised to challenge China's long-standing dominance. With a burgeoning middle class, India's market allure is undeniable. Apple and other global giants have taken note. By 2022, India's economy surged to an impressive $3.39 trillion, securing the fifth position globally and representing 18.8% of China's economic strength. If this meteoric rise persists, India is set to outpace Germany by 2027 and potentially Japan by 2029, ascending to the world's third largest economic powerhouse. Projections paint India as a potential runner-up to China by 2050. Historically, India's economic blueprint leaned towards advanced international services, but 2014 marked a paradigm shift with Prime Minister Modi's audacious Made in India campaign targeting a leap in manufacturing's GDP contribution from 50% to 25% by 2025. To fuel this ambition, India unleashed a slew of incentives, tariff cuts, infrastructure upgrades, and an aggressive pursuit of foreign capital. India's demographics also work in its favor. In 2022, its population swelled beyond 1.4 billion, with 67% aged between 15 and 64. This demographic goldmine translates to over 12 million eager young minds joining the workforce annually. By 2050, this segment is projected to swell by another 183 million. India's labor cost advantage is crucial. While China and Vietnam's industrial wage soar, India offers an unbeatable rate, further sweetened by a vast domestic market. Burgeoning electronic supply chain, cutting-edge IT and pharmaceutical sectors, and unparalleled English proficiency. In 2021, India unfurled a lucrative incentive scheme, earmarking up to 50% of project costs to lure global semiconductor and display titans. By September 2022, India began dispersing these incentives, valued at a whopping $10 billion, with a vision to morph into global center for electronic design and manufacturing. Sensing the fragility of a semiconductor supply chain anchored in East Asia, the US pivoted towards India. Their support transcends mere investment, encompassing technology, talent, telecommunications, space exploration, advanced computing, and AI. The grand vision? Sculpting India as the world's premier democratic powerhouse. As global capital recalibrates, India emerges as a prime beneficiary, leaving peers like Mexico, Vietnam, and Malaysia in its wake. A recent report unveiled a jaw-dropping 400% growth in investments from the US and Europe in India, reaching an astronomical $65 billion between 2021 and 2022. In stark contrast, China's foreign investments dwindled, dropping from a 2018 zenith of $120 billion to a mere $200 billion in 2022. The shift towards diversification is palpably in motion. During Prime Minister Modi's US visit, Tesla CEO Elon Musk announced accelerated plans for Tesla factory in India. Moreover, several US semiconductor companies declared their investment intentions in the country. In June, US storage behemoth Micron revealed plans for an assembly and testing facility in Gujarat. Semiconductor equipment manufacturer Applied Materials announced a collaborative engineering center in Bangalore. Another semiconductor giant, Lam Research, committed to training 60,000 Indian engineers. In August, Taiwan's Hong Hai Precision Industry disclosed significant investment in Karnataka to manufacture iPhone components and collaborate with US-based Applied Materials on semiconductor equipment. These ventures are anticipated to generate over 13,000 jobs. Foxconn, a subsidiary of Hong Hai Precision Industry, recognized the potential for multi-billion-dollar investment in India. In May, they acquired vast land in Bangalore's tech hub. Currently, Foxconn operates approximately 9 production parks and over 30 factories in India, with an annual turnover nearing $10 billion. As India's middle class flourishes, titans like Apple, Tesla, and Micron are not just entering but dominating the scene. Their influence is transformative, catalyzing the evolution of India's advanced manufacturing sectors. As India's economic prominence surged, China's once unquestioned market dominance is showing signs of strain. Chinese corporations, sensing India's potential, are keen to expand their footprint. However, India treads with caution. Under the Modi administration, India has intensified its scrutiny of trade with China, championing decoupling and enforcing targeted trade protection measures. High-profile Chinese apps like TikTok and WeChat have been axed, citing national security concerns. Chinese tech behemoths including Xiaomi and Oppo have found themselves embroiled in controversies over alleged tax evasion and illicit remittances. In 2022, Xiaomi faced accusations of illegal fund transfers, leading to seizures of assets worth a staggering 55.5 billion rupees. Oppo, too, was in the crosshairs with allegations of duty evasion. Vivo Communication Technology wasn't spared either, with 119 bank accounts frozen. Xiaomi's recent formal charge notice from the Indian government suggests that its assets might be on the brink of confiscation. In the global economic tapestry, powerhouses like the US, Europe, Japan, South Korea, and India dominate. India's burgeoning middle class is fueling a consumer boom, with many splurging on luxury items like smartphones. In contrast, the Chinese, shaped by their socio-cultural fabrics, lean towards saving, particularly from medical contingencies. Indians, excluding optimism, believe in living for the present, often spending freely. While India's GDP might lag behind China's, its consumer market pulsates with energy. Apple's meteoric rise in India is a testament to its vibrant market. Between 2018 and 2023, Apple's market share quintupled. In the premium segment, iPhones reign supreme with a commanding 62% market share. Apple CEO Tim Cook is bullish about India, frequently highlighting its dynamic market and the expanding middle class. Yet for the Chinese firms, India is a double-edged sword. Beyond Xiaomi and Oppo, a plethora of Chinese brands face vigorous scrutiny. Over 500 Chinese companies are under review in India. From telecommunications to home appliances and machinery manufacturing, almost every sector has been under the lens. Even Huawei and ZTE have been sidelined in the 5G race, with Huawei even considering a strategic withdrawal from the Indian market. Despite regulatory hurdles, companies like Xiaomi and BYD are doubling down on their Indian investments. Xiaomi, undeterred by setbacks, is aggressively expanding its Indian operations. Rumors suggest BYD is investing a colossal 7 billion yuan for a new Indian factory. The trajectory of Chinese enterprises in India is shrouded in uncertainty, while India has made significant strides in improving its business environment. As evidenced by its rise in the World Bank Doing Business 2020 rankings, challenges remain. Nomura's chief economist, Sonal Varma, earmarks India and Southeast Asia as Asia's growth centers for the next decades. However, Chinese firms often find themselves facing sterner penalties in India compared to the West. This is partly due to India's inherent skepticism towards China. India can challenge the Chinese Communist Party's strategies. Given the limited number of Indian enterprises in China, Beijing struggles to counterbalance New Delhi's stringent policies toward Chinese entities. The Great Decoupling, China's rapid disentanglement from global economics. In the intricacies tapestry of global finance, a tectonic shift is unfolding. China, once the lodestar for international investments, is experiencing a swift ebb of foreign capital. Concurrently, its overseas investments are receding. This simultaneous pullback underscores a stark reality. China's decoupling from the global economic fabric is intensifying at an unparalleled rate. Historically, from 1992 onwards, China stood as a magnet for foreign investment, with the US leading the charge. Between 1990 and 2016, US investments in China soared to an impressive $228 billion. Yet in the post-2016 landscape saw the influx wane dramatically, dwindling to just 1.4% of China's total FDI by 2021. Extricating investments from China, however, is fraught with challenges. A pivotal moment from 2016 underscores its intricacy. Faced with a colossal capital exodus, the People's Bank of China intervened with a staggering $1 trillion to bolster the yuan. In a strategic move, Pen Guosheng, then at the helm of the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, clamped down on Chinese firms' overseas ventures. This strategy not only curtailed China's outbound investment, but also impeded foreign entities from repatriating their profits, marking a significant departure from global economic norms. With China now amplifying its capital controls, foreign entities find their repatriation capabilities slashed by a staggering 90%. This paradigm shift challenges the foundational tenets of economic globalization, which advocates for uninhibited capital mobility. The retreat of Chinese capital from the US is multifaceted. Initially, up to 2016, a series of high-profile US and European acquisitions, including landmarks like the Waldorf Astoria Hotel and major Hollywood stakes, were orchestrated by China's super white gloves magnates such as Xiao Zhenghua, Wu Xiaohui, and Wang Jianling. Entrenched in China's political echelons, these tycoons often bankrolled their global ventures through domestic loans, yet Xi Jinping's stringent anti-corruption drive concerned these moguls, compelling them to retract and repatriate their global assets. Conversely, another segment, seemingly private but fundamentally state-backed, invest with a strategic alignment to China's geopolitical objective. As the US fortified its defenses, curbing Chinese investments in sectors deemed security risks, the investment terrain grew increasingly treacherous. The Russo-Ukraine conflict and the ensuing sanctions on Russia, encompassing asset seizures, further strained the situation. Amid escalating US-China tensions, these Chinese investors with an eye on security are judiciously retracting from the US. In the current scenario, Chinese enterprises are increasingly diversifying their investments, targeting factories worldwide and resource-rich projects in Asia, the Middle East, and South America. Notably, as of this year, Indonesia, abundant in nickel, a pivotal ingredient for electronic vehicle batteries, has emerged as the primary recipient of Chinese capital.